Let's create a budget. Let's get out of debt. Let's build wealth. Guys, welcome back to the channel. So we went through this entire flow chart, through each of these bubbles on this flow chart and how important they are. So now we're going to come to the last bubble on here, which is your bank. So your bank is the infinite banking concept. The bank is probably the most versatile one on here. If you think of this kind of like a chessboard, the bank would be kind of like the queen, as it can basically move in any direction. So you could think of your bank like your checking account. If you wanted to use it as a checking account, as soon as you get paid, you would transfer all of that money straight into your bank. You would then transfer it out as you needed it. So it can function as a checking account. The ultimate goal is to have your bank become your main source. So once you have your bank, you won't need banks. We'll still need them for their infrastructure because they have the cards and things like that. But basically it's just a bypass through them and using your bank. It's creating a bank without having to go through all the paperwork and doing all those things, and it functions just like a real bank. You can definitely use it as a line of credit. It will work the same way. You know, we always talk about having our checking account at a required amount, which is basically 1 month's expense and a little buffer in there. And what you're basically, once that checking account at that bank that you're using is at zero, or your 0 point is that 1 month expense, then everything funnels through your line of credit. You know, when you're looking at business, you're looking at, say you're going to finance a car, they're always trying to get you to finance through them, through their in-house financing. And that's the way you need to look at your bank. Ultimately, everything that you need will come from your bank. You got to look at it that way. So if you're trying to buy a car, you know, if you already have money in your bank and you maxed out your MEC limit, then that's the only place you should be borrowing from. You know, you shouldn't be going to different places acquiring a line of credit. Think of every time you want to go get a line of credit, say it's a new car, new house, anything, it should be coming from your bank and paying it back to your bank. If you don't have the money in there, you follow the previous videos and your bank will grow with you. And eventually, you know, you may only have enough in there to finance a car. But as time goes on and as that bank starts to grow with you, eventually more and more will start coming to your bank, till eventually you won't need any other banks. You would use your bank for all of your financing needs. Your bank could be bad debt. Is it necessarily bad debt? Not really. But once you take a loan from your bank, as you're paying yourself back, a percent of that will go to the insurance company. But at the same time, you're still capitalizing on that total asset. So if you say you had 50,000 in there, you borrowed out 40,000, as you pay that back, there's a certain percent, probably 5% or whatever the insurance company, depending on which one you are, set that interest rate at. That interest rate will be going back to them. But at the same time, they're still paying you that 4% guaranteed and the dividends on that entire 50,000, as if you never took the 40,000 out. You still get that on the entire amount. So technically could be bad debt, but you're basically borrowing at zero. Now understand that once you have the infinite banking concept, or once you have your bank set up, it's the first 2 years. It's going to take 2 years before you really start gaining that momentum on it. That's the only really bad thing about the infinite banking concept, is the first 2 years. So I always believe it's better to start in the beginning and work your way up while you're waiting on those 2 years. Go ahead and start utilizing the bank. And then once those 2 years come, technically there's no bad debt. I mean, you still are paying an interest, but you're still gaining it at the same time. You know, once you have the bank set up, you know, if you're not using it, say, you know, to buy a car, buy a house, or things like that, you still should be utilizing it to create assets, to buy assets outside of your bank. So if let's say you want to acquire assets, right? You always want to increase your wealth, have your wealth growing at the same time. this is a twofold. Technically, if it's sitting in there, you're still gaining. But even if you borrow it out to buy bigger assets, say it's real estate or business, you wanting to start, you borrow from your bank, you're still gaining on that total amount, and you're using it to buy these assets and create these businesses, which in turn will even enhance and make it even better and grow faster over time. And whether you're utilizing it or not, you're still going to be gaining income. It's still going to be increasing in value. So if you borrow out from your bank and you create these businesses, you buy real estate, you're buying assets, that all of that is going to in turn produce income. So technically your bank is producing income basically from the time you start it, it'll start producing income. And it all comes together in a complete picture where the bank is constantly growing, working for you 24/7. Normally you wouldn't use your bank to pay expenses, but if you think about it in a way that if you fully understand the infinite banking concept, then you can think of it as, when you go to think, what do you want to set your MEC limit, or how much do you want your bank to be worth? Technically, it could be entirely what you make, right? I mean, you can funnel, if you're using that bank as a checking account, as a line of credit, to eliminate bad debt, then you could technically even use it on a daily basis for expenses, and depending on how far you want to take this, you could technically, right, when you get paid, it goes straight into your checking account and straight into your bank. And then as you need to pay your bills, if you're using this bank as a line of credit, as you need to pay your bills, you would just withdraw, you would technically pay it out of your checking account, but then you just turn around and refund your checking account from your bank. So technically you could use this, you could think of this as basically your go-to for all. You could pay everything you needed to straight with your bank. That is going to enhance and increase it. And if you're thinking that way, you're going to naturally want to make your MEC limit a little bit higher than maybe what you originally plan on doing that. It depends on how far down the road you're looking at it and how much you understand the concept, and the family bank is also known, the infinite banking concept is also known as the family bank. So if you're looking at it like you're going to help your family too, let's say you're not just financing your car or your house or your expenses, and to use it to its maximum capacity, then as your kids get older, as they need cars, as they need to pay for college, or as they want to start businesses or do things, they can borrow from this same bank. You can give them a loan, they can borrow from the family bank, and you can keep the entire thing in the family. And so that's why it's known as family bank. If it's just you, it's kind of the infinite banking concept. If it's your entire family, then it's the family bank. And once you understand that concept and start to use it that way, even if a family member eventually doesn't pay off, they don't pay it back or something like that, then they would be kicked from the family bank. But you could use this for the entire family, and all expenses that the family needs will come from this family bank. Starting businesses, going to college, buying cars, anything that you can think of that you need a loan for, instead of getting it from a different bank, you would get it from your family bank. And the good old budget. So budget, to me, budget is, in a way, it's that natural, it's a need, it's a desire, it's things that you want to do in life. And it is important, right? I mean, you want, depending on if you're going on family vacations or if you're going on, buying things, phones, cars, house, whatever, your budget is what gives you that. And as your bank increases, if you wanted to, you're going on vacation and say to Disney World, right? Instead of staying at some off site, you can stay right there in Disney World. You can borrow from your bank, or as your bank increases, so your budget can increase a little bit, just for those everyday expenses Now you may, just depending on what you want, right? Slowly over time, as you're borrowing from your bank, and you're buying the good debt is producing income. Part of that income can go to your budget and slowly start to increase your budget. So guys, the family bank, infinite banking concept, this is one of the most important things. I mean, this is starting this, even if you don't know what you're doing. If you start this, then eventually this will become your go-to all. Think of it as, once you open this, think of it as anytime you're about to go get a loan or about to do something, think about borrowing from yourself. Make sure you have the discipline to pay yourself back. And you can really set that interest rate. You can set an interest rate of, say, if you borrow from your bank, you can set the interest rate of 10%, 8%, anything higher than the percent going back to the insurance company is basically going back to you. So, it's the way you think about it, using that creative imagination, that this bank will be your go-to for all of your needs. So guys, I encourage you to learn about the infinite banking concept, fully understand it. There's a lot of things, a lot of information and stuff out there, a lot of misinformation on it. So make sure you do your due diligence, you do your research, and understand the infinite banking concept and how it works. Guys, as always, if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And if you found value in this video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. And hitting that notification bell will help push this video out to more people. It'll help to alert you anytime I post a new video. I do post a video every 3 days. If I hit that notification bell, it will give you a little pop-up and let you know that a new video has come out. So guys, I hope you found value in this flowchart series, and I'll see you in the next video.